I'm Linda Harper, a 40-year-old illustrator and children's book author. But I'm not here to talk about colorful drawings or heartwarming stories for kids. I want to tell you another story. One about betrayal, misguided love, and my journey to rediscover myself. It all began on the day Ethan, my husband of 15 years, handed me a business card for a divorce lawyer, accompanied by a cold smile. Let's get divorced. A wife without a stable income like you must understand that this is best for both of us. His words cut through me like a knife. However, what hurt even more was the way Monica, my childhood best friend, stood beside him, smiling smugly as if she had won. The three of us, Ethan, Monica, and I, used to be inseparable. We grew up together in a small coastal town in Oregon. Monica was the type of person everyone adored. Beautiful, charming, and always the center of attention. Ethan, on the other hand, was quiet and reserved but deeply caring toward those around him. And then there was me, with my passion for art, often feeling like a shadow standing next to them. In my final year of high school, I had mentally prepared myself to leave our small town and study fine arts at a college in New York. I never expected Ethan, the man I had secretly admired for so long, to suddenly confess his feelings. "I've liked you for a long time, Linda. Will you give me a chance?" I was shocked, because I had always thought he had feelings for Monica. However, when Monica wholeheartedly supported our relationship, I accepted his proposal. At that moment, I felt like I was living in a beautiful dream. After graduation, Ethan and I got married at 26. We decided not to have children as both of us valued our freedom and wanted to focus on our careers. Ethan became a manager at a real estate company, while I embarked on building my career in illustration and writing. We often traveled, attended art events, and enjoyed an unburdened life together. Things began to change when Monica married Ryan, a successful tech industry professional. Not long after, they had a daughter named Lily. I still remember the day Monica excitedly announced her pregnancy. "Ethan, guess what? I'm going to need your help a lot this time. Ryan is always so busy." She said it casually, and Ethan nodded without hesitation. At first, I didn't think much of it. Monica was our best friend, and Ethan wanting to help her seemed natural. However, as time passed, Ethan started spending an alarming amount of time with Monica and Lily. He gave up smoking because Monica complained about the smell. He frequently took time off work to drive her to doctor's appointments or take care of Lily whenever Ryan was away. I began to feel uneasy and annoyed. "Ethan, don't you think this is going too far? Ryan might get upset with you constantly interfering in their family matters," I cautioned him. But Ethan just frowned at me. "You're always busy with work and don't care about anyone. Monica needs my help and you just don't get that, do you?" Arguments began to happen more frequently. Ethan was no longer the gentle husband I had known. He seemed to be more attached to Monica and her daughter than to me. There were even times when he missed important events in our lives just to be with Monica. Things reached a breaking point when Lily's kindergarten graduation came around. The night before the ceremony, Ethan rummaged through the closet looking for a suit. "What are you doing?" I asked, bewildered. "I need a proper outfit for Lily's graduation. Monica asked me to go in Ryan's place," he said casually. I couldn't believe my ears. "You're attending their daughter's graduation in place of Ryan? Don't you think that's completely inappropriate?" Ethan shot me a cold glare. "You're being ridiculous. I'm just helping a friend. Can't you be a little more understanding?" That was the moment I realized our marriage was on the brink of collapse. Ethan and Monica had crossed a line they should never have crossed. I felt like I was being pushed out of my own life. My story was only just beginning. I started noticing something was wrong when Ethan gradually withdrew from my life. At first, it was excuses about working late or meeting clients on weekends. But as time went on, he spent more and more time with Monica and Lily, to the point where it was undeniable. Unease crept into my mind, but I tried not to let myself be consumed by negative thoughts. The truth only became clear when Ryan, Monica's husband, showed up at my house late one night. His face was a mix of worry and exhaustion. I opened the door and let him in, wondering why he had come so late. "Linda, I need to talk to you about Ethan and Monica," he said in a low, serious voice that made my heart tighten. We sat across from each other in the living room. The warm glow of the lamp did little to ease the tension in the air. Ryan got straight to the point. "I've been tracking Monica's car for the past few weeks. She's been going to a small hotel outside the city regularly. And Ethan is always there with her. He showed me GPS data from Monica's car. The locations and timestamps were undeniable. Each number on the screen felt like a dagger stabbing into my heart. I didn't know what to say. Part of me clung to the hope that it was all just a misunderstanding, but Ryan's eyes told me the truth. There was no doubt anymore. I want us to confront them, but the most important thing is that we protect Lily from getting hurt, he said, his gaze steady. I nodded. The betrayal was clear. And now, Ryan and I were two people bound by the same pain. We began planning to gather more evidence. Ryan started working from home to keep an eye on Monica's movements, while I buried myself in my work. Both to earn more money and to distract myself from the torment I was feeling. Ethan, oblivious to the fact that I knew everything, continued living his double life as if nothing had happened. During this time, I grew closer to Lily. Ryan often brought her to my house when Ethan and Monica were out. Even though Lily wasn't Ryan's biological daughter, he loved and cared for her as if she were his own. I couldn't help but feel affection for her too, a child caught in the web of betrayal without any understanding of what was happening. However, just as things seemed to be settling into a routine, I received devastating news. One morning, while working in my studio, I suddenly felt dizzy and collapsed to the floor. When I woke up in the hospital, the doctor informed me that I had a serious illness and would need long-term hospitalization. My world crumbled once again. From that moment on, I was fighting not only the betrayal but also a battle for my own health. I tried to stay calm as I informed Ethan about my condition. I hoped that, despite the cracks in our relationship, he would show some concern for me as his wife. But he responded with indifference. "I'll try to visit you when I have time." Not a single question about my diagnosis or treatment. He visited the hospital only once in the first 2 months of my stay, and then he simply stopped coming altogether. Monica and Ethan continued their relationship as if I no longer existed. But what hurt me the most was how Monica became increasingly neglectful of Lily. Ryan tried his best to protect the little girl from being hurt, but Lily started noticing the change. "Does Mom not love me anymore, Ms. Linda?" Lily's question left me speechless. I hugged her and promised that both Ryan and I would always be there for her, no matter what. During my long stay in the hospital, I realized I couldn't continue being a victim. Ethan and Monica had treated me like an obstacle in their lives, but I wouldn't let them achieve their goals so easily. Ryan and I had gathered enough evidence, but we decided not to act right away. The most important thing was to keep Lily safe and shielded from the fallout of adult problems. As time passed, I learned to regain my strength through small things. Lily visited me every day, bringing drawings she had made to cheer me up. Ryan also gave me unwavering support. We didn't need to rush. I knew one thing for certain. Our time would come, and when it did, neither Monica nor Ethan would escape the consequences of their actions. The meeting at the lawyer's office happened faster than I expected. Ethan sat across from me, his face calm and smug. "Let's go ahead with the divorce, Linda. I think we both need the freedom to pursue our own paths." "There's no need to make this difficult," he said, as if this were just a simple business deal without any serious consequences. Monica stood beside him with her arms crossed, her face full of satisfaction. I smiled, but it was a smile that carried things neither of them could comprehend. "Fine, Ethan, let's get divorced," I said, signing the papers without hesitation. He looked momentarily taken aback, probably expecting me to cry or beg him to come back. But he was wrong. The divorce was finalized within a few weeks. According to the agreement, I kept the house and all other assets that had been in my name before the marriage. It was only fair, since the house we had lived in was my property from the beginning. Ethan had never contributed a single penny to it, a fact my lawyer had clearly established. At first, Ethan didn't seem too concerned. He assumed that with Monica and the support of Ryan, whom he believed was clueless about the affair, they would soon find a new place to live comfortably. What he didn't know was that Ryan had his own plans. One morning, as Monica and Ethan were packing to move out, they received an unexpected call from a real estate agent. "I'm sorry, but I need to inform you that your lease for the new apartment has been canceled," the agent said coldly, giving them no room for explanation. "We were notified that all of Monica's current assets are under legal review due to a pending divorce settlement." Monica nearly lost her mind. "Ryan can't do this to me. I'm Lily's mother," she screamed, but no one cared. Ethan tried calling me repeatedly afterward. When I saw dozens of missed calls from him, I simply smiled and turned off my phone. For me, this was just the beginning. Not long after, Ethan and Monica found themselves homeless. They had to move into a small, run-down motel near the city center. The savings Ethan had accumulated were nearly gone, having been wasted during their affair. To make matters worse, his company fired him for ethical violations. Once a proud manager, Ethan was now jobless and without a steady income. Monica fared no better. Ryan officially filed for divorce and secured full custody of Lily. With solid evidence of her infidelity and neglect, Monica had little chance to contest the decision. Ryan had prepared everything in advance, and when the court ruled in his favor, Lily was awarded to live with her father. Monica cried and screamed, but it changed nothing. When Monica came to me in desperation, I silently looked at her without saying a word. She had destroyed my marriage, and now she had to face the consequences. "Linda, please help me. We used to be best friends," she pleaded, her voice trembling. I felt no sympathy for her anymore. "Monica, best friends don't do what you did. Handle it yourself," I said coldly and walked away. As for Ethan, he continued trying to contact me, begging for help. "Linda, we had good years together. You can't just abandon me like this," he said. I laughed at his words. "Ethan, you abandoned me when I needed you the most. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Stop calling me." I blocked his number and redirected all future contact through my lawyer. From that point on, I heard nothing more from either Ethan or Monica. They had vanished from my life, though I knew they were struggling with the mess they had created. As time passed, I gradually regained my health and focused on my work. Lily, Ryan, and I developed a strong bond. Ryan often brought his daughter to visit me, and I found joy in seeing Lily grow happier and more confident. We no longer talked about the painful past because, now, we were all looking toward a brighter future. My plan for revenge was complete, but the most remarkable outcome wasn't the downfall of Ethan and Monica, it was the fact that I had found myself again, stronger than ever. One early winter morning, just after I finished illustrating a new children's book, my lawyer called with an update. "Ethan has officially lost his job. The company confirmed that he falsified reports and misused corporate funds." I listened silently. The news didn't surprise me. Ethan had always relied on manipulation, and his tricks had finally caught up with him. Not long after, I learned that he was struggling to find new work. Securing a respectable job with such a tarnished record wasn't easy. "I heard Ethan's now doing manual labor at a shipping warehouse near the docks," Ryan told me one afternoon while visiting with Lily. We didn't discuss Ethan much anymore, but hearing this made me reflect on how far his life had spiraled downwards. Monica wasn't in a better position. After losing custody of Lily, she had to move out of the large home Ryan had bought for them. With no financial support, Monica relocated to a rundown apartment and worked several part-time jobs to make ends meet. She had once believed Ethan would be her partner through it all, but as both fell into hardship, their hollow relationship quickly crumbled. They lost contact, and Monica faded into obscurity. Sometimes I wondered how Monica felt now, going from a woman admired by many to someone pulling night shifts at a small diner. But then I let those thoughts go. Her fate was the result of her own choices. Life gradually became peaceful for me after those turbulent times. Ryan and I kept in regular contact because of Lily, whom I saw as family. "Ms. Linda, I drew you a picture today." Lily beamed as she handed me a drawing of the house we once shared during those difficult days. "Do you think I can become an artist like you?" she asked with sparkling eyes. I smiled, gently patting her head. "Of course you can. If that's what you want, I'll help you chase that dream." Lily grew more focused on her studies and dreams. She told me she wanted to study abroad and become a translator of children's picture books, spreading vibrant stories to kids around the world. Hearing her aspirations filled me with pride. This once hurt child had found her strength and was ready to take control of her future. As for me, my career in writing and illustrating continued to thrive. Parents and children adored my books, and one of them was even in the process of being adapted into an animated film. During my time in the hospital, I never stopped working, letting each page of my stories serve as a source of strength to fight my illness. Now, my doctor had encouraging news. "If everything continues to improve, you might be discharged next year," he said. It was the best news I'd heard in a long time. After all the suffering, I could finally see light at the end of the tunnel. Ryan and Lily frequently visited me in the hospital. One day when it was just the two of us, Ryan gently held my hand, his eyes serious yet tender. "Linda, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I want you to consider the idea of remarriage. I know you may not be ready, but I want us to build a new life together. A family where Lily can feel safe and happy." I was taken aback by his proposal. My heart, once closed off by past wounds, had found warmth again through Ryan and Lily. I didn't give him an answer right away. "Ryan, could you give me some time? I truly value your feelings, but I need to think carefully before deciding," I replied softly. He smiled and nodded. "I'll always wait for you, Linda. There's no rush." After Ryan left, I gazed out of the hospital window, feeling the gentle spring breeze whispering through the trees. A bright future awaited me. I had been broken by pain before, but now, I knew I was stronger than ever. My journey was far from over. I continued to write stories not only for children but also for myself, a woman who had learned to rise from the ashes and find light in life's smallest moments. I understood now that no matter how many trials life threw my way, I would never back down again. Linda Harper's story is one of overcoming betrayal, pain, and loss to rediscover herself. Sometimes those we trust most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. Yet instead of letting the pain consume her, Linda faced it head-on, rebuilt her life, and found strength through love, her career, and those who truly cared for her. Life may be filled with challenges, but if we refuse to give up, happiness will always be waiting at the end of the road. What do you think about Linda Harper's story? Do you have any thoughts or feelings about her choices and transformation? Share your opinions in the comments below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more inspiring stories about life and family. My name is Amelia. I'm 36 years old and work as a curator at a private gallery specializing in contemporary art in Seattle. I'm not someone who cares too much about appearances, but my job requires me to always look polished, neutral midi dresses, neatly tied up hair, and thin eyeliner. People say my eyes are easy to trust, but lately, I don't even trust myself. I live with my husband, Daniel, a real estate businessman, and our 6-year-old daughter, Lily. Our house is located in the northern part of the city on the edge of a quiet neighborhood, surrounded by pine trees and a lake that reflects the evening sky like a mirror. It's a 2-story house with a sloped European-style roof, rebuilt from an old structure nearly 80 years ago. When we first moved in, Daniel joked, "If there are ghosts, I'll make friends with them." But lately I'm the one who feels like I'm living with something invisible and not at all friendly. My mother passed away 3 months ago, suddenly while on vacation in Arizona. A heart attack, unexpected, with no warning, leaving behind only a will that had already been sent to the family lawyer. She left me nearly $2.5 million, mostly from stocks and real estate. I haven't touched a cent. Not because I don't need it, but because something doesn't feel right. Since the funeral, Daniel has been acting differently. Not exactly distant, but constantly busy. Sudden meetings, phone calls past midnight, and hushed conversations I overhear when passing by his study. Every time I ask, he laughs it off. "You're overthinking. I'm just trying to secure our future." I want to believe him, but deep down something chills me to the bone. Lily, my little girl with soft curls and amber eyes, has always lived in her own imaginative world. She could turn a crack in the floor into a treasure map or call drifting clouds sleepy lions. But lately she's been quieter. She often sits by the living room window, staring into the yard with an unreadable expression. "What are you looking at, Lily?" I asked one morning while pouring orange juice. She didn't turn around. "Don't you see? The shadows moving between the trees, they're whispering to each other." I gripped the glass tightly. "You're imagining things again." Lily turned to me, her gaze slow and serious, enough to give me chills. "It's not imagination, they're talking about you." I was about to ask more when Daniel came downstairs, adjusting his suit sleeve and smiling. "I have to leave early today. There's a meeting with Japanese investors. If it goes well, we'll have an amazing vacation. Lily, what do you want Daddy to bring you from Tokyo?" She stayed silent. I forced a smile, but my heart was still racing from what she'd just said. I walked Daniel to the door and watched his Range Rover roll down the gravel road. A cold gust of wind made me pull my coat tighter. Though the sun was up, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching me. Not from afar, but close. Maybe inside this very house. Everything started with my mother's death. And I'm scared the next one will be me. 3 days after Daniel left for Tokyo, Lily barely moved from the living room window. She drew more, but not flowers or castles like she used to. Every drawing was of a house surrounded by swirling black lines, with faceless figures standing behind the windows. I asked her what she was drawing and she simply said, "The ones who are waiting." Waiting for who? Waiting for you to wake up. I was used to Lily's vivid imagination, but the way she spoke, slowly, clearly, without blinking, sent a chill down my spine. That night, I checked her sketchbook. One page had been torn out. The next showed our house, covered in red splotches with a long-hailed woman at the center, either sleeping or lying still. I tried to brush off my thoughts. Maybe I was just overreacting, still grieving. But things got stranger that Wednesday afternoon, when I was organizing the storage room and found an old leather notebook hidden behind a loose floorboard. The notebook had no name on the cover. Inside were rough technical sketches of the house, or rather the original structure. It showed an underground passage, a narrow tunnel leading from behind the kitchen to a room beneath the ground, completely separate from the main foundation. It hadn't been mentioned in last year's property inspection. When I brought the notebook to the living room, Lily looked up from her comic book and casually said, "I've seen that." I froze. Seen what? That tunnel. In my dreams. A voice told me to show you the way. I swallowed hard. What voice? Grandma's. I almost dropped the notebook. That evening while I was clearing the table, Lily dragged a chair over and whispered, "You shouldn't be home alone after dark. They don't like you being here." Lily, don't say things like that. I heard Daddy talking to someone. He said if you disappeared everything would be easier. I stared at her. Where did you hear that? His office. I was sitting by the door. He didn't know. I tried to stay calm, but my stomach was in knots. That night I snuck into Daniel's office. The computer was logged out, the drawers locked, but in the trash I found a crumpled stack of printed documents, a diagram of our home security system labeled full lockdown mode, and a blueprint of the house. One note was underlined in pencil. Ensure there are no uncontrolled exit points. I collapsed onto the floor, my head spinning. What is happening? A text alert came through. It was Daniel. I need to stay a few more days. Big deal. Don't call. Then a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated, then picked up. Ms. Amelia, this is Marcia Bennett, loan officer at First Haven Bank. I'm calling to confirm a request to close the savings account under your mother's name, Annette Wells. Close the account? I gripped the phone. I never requested that. Oh, the woman hesitated. The signature on file is yours, but I'm sorry, I can't share more without legal authorization. I hung up, my hands shaking. Daniel, he's trying to take my mother's assets? When I entered the bedroom, Lily was sitting on the bed hugging her stuffed bunny, eyes fixed on the window. Mom, she whispered. It's starting. What is? The shadows in the garden. I see them and they're coming closer. I rushed to the window. A black SUV was parked not far from the house, headlights just turned off, no one stepped out. But I could feel it. Someone watching us through the glass. I held Lily's hand tight. For the first time in my life, I was too scared to even breathe. Something had shattered inside me. Trust, safety, the feeling that this house was once a sanctuary. Now it was just a box, a trap. And someone, or several someones, was waiting for me to fall right into it. I couldn't sleep the entire night. Even after locking all the windows, pulling the curtains shut and holding Lily tightly in my arms, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching us from outside. Or worse, from inside the house. Early the next morning, while Lily was still asleep, I stepped into Daniel's office. This time, I wasn't just looking around. I searched with intention. I pulled out drawers, checked behind bookshelves, even removed the back of a framed picture on the wall. Finally, at the bottom of an old beige file box, I found a thick envelope sealed with red string. The label read, Metropolitan Life, Life Insurance, Amelia H. Jameson. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside was a life insurance policy worth $2 million. The beneficiary? Daniel J. Jameson. The signing date? 1 week after my mother's funeral. It felt like a punch to the chest. I had never agreed to sign any recent insurance documents. The signature looked like mine, but the strokes were stiff and distorted, not how I've ever signed my name. Beneath it was a handwritten note, unsigned. Complete all paperwork before the 30th. Make sure nothing is traceable, especially by her. I quickly closed the file as I heard a sound in the hallway, but it was just Lily. She walked in, holding her stuffed bunny, eyes still heavy with sleep. I dreamed about Grandma, Lily whispered. She said, don't trust Daddy. I knelt down and took her hand. Lily, if anything ever makes you feel scared, please tell me, okay? She nodded but said nothing more. Her eyes, once again, tightened something deep in my chest. I brought Lily over to our neighbor Susan's house, the one who used to teach her art. She has a mild fever, I lied. I need to take care of some urgent paperwork. Can you watch her for a few hours? Back home, I called the insurance company, pretending to be Daniel, asking about the policy I'd just found. After a few basic verification steps, worryingly just his birth date and the last digits of his social security, the employee confirmed. Yes, the policy has been activated. All benefits are now under verification status, in the event of disappearance or unexplained death. I hung up, my face drained of color. Daniel had made a plan. While gathering all the documents, my phone rang. Caller ID, Charlotte. Daniel's mother. Reluctantly I answered. Hello, Charlotte. Amelia. Her voice was always soft but chilling. Daniel called me this morning. He said you've been a little tense lately. Is everything all right? I stayed composed. I'm just sorting through some paperwork related to my mother's estate. A short pause. Then Charlotte's tone shifted, sharp and deliberate. He's been under a lot of pressure, Amelia, you know that. You shouldn't make Daniel feel distrusted, especially right now. You wouldn't want Lily to grow up without a father, would you? I clenched the phone. Are you threatening me? Oh no, just reminding you there are things you don't know, and sometimes knowing too much isn't good. I hung up before I could say something I'd regret. I was trembling. There was no more doubt. They were setting a trap. That afternoon I found another copy of the house's blueprint, aged, marked in red ink, hidden behind the bookshelf. On it was a note. P4. My strange label under the basement. An area I thought was just a storage room. I decided to check it out. The old basement door creaked. My flashlight flickered across moldy walls. I followed the blueprint, counted my steps, until I reached a section of brick wall that looked different. The mortar was relatively fresh, as if recently patched. I knocked. It sounded hollow. Something was behind that wall. A room or a passage. Before I could do anything else, I heard the front door open. Heavy footsteps echoed upstairs. Daniel was home. I switched off the flashlight and backed away, staying completely silent. His voice floated down, calm and eerily steady. Amelia, where are you? I brought something for Lily, and there's something important we need to talk about. I pressed into the shadows, my heart pounding like a war drum. I had to choose. Keep pretending or face the truth. But I knew this much: if I stayed in this house tonight, I might not get another chance. I stood frozen in the basement, heart racing in my chest, threatening to shatter the silence around me. Daniel's footsteps creaked above, slow, deliberate, like he was drawing out the moment. I backed into the corner, pressing my body against the cold wall. My phone buzzed once. Susan's text. Amelia, Lily wants to come home. Are you okay? Is something wrong? I typed quickly. Don't let her come back. Please keep Lily safe. Lock the doors. Something is happening. Right then, the downstairs light switched on. Daniel's shadow stretched long down the narrow stairs. Amelia, his voice called, soft like honey. I know you're here. We need to talk. About your mom. About everything you've misunderstood. I held my breath. My hand tightened around the flashlight like it was my only weapon. A short, sharp beep. Then click. The basement light went out. I instantly flicked on my flashlight, its beam jittering across the brick. Then I heard it. The mechanical sound. Not from the stairs, but from the windows. I bolted upstairs, but the basement door slammed shut and locked from the outside. I twisted the knob. It wouldn't budge. I ran to the kitchen door. Also locked. All the windows, all the exits. Metal bars slid into place from the frames. Just like the security diagram I'd seen in Daniel's printed files. No alarm, no warning, just silence. The faint smell of melting plastic and a light trace of gasoline in the air. I was in full panic. I tore through drawers, searched for the landline, disconnected. I ran to the front door, of course it wouldn't open. I rushed to the living room, pulled out the house plan I had hidden. The underground path marked P4. It was the only way out. I sprinted to the kitchen, yanked open the pantry. Ran my fingers along the paneling until I found a narrow seam. Pressed, click, click. A section of the wall slid aside, revealing a dusty, low wooden door. I opened it. Inside was a tight tunnel, just enough for one person to crawl through. My heart was pounding wildly. But I had no choice. I grabbed the flashlight and crawled in. The air was thick, musty, with the smell of rotting wood. I moved slowly, guided by the dim light. Every sound behind me sent chills down my spine. I didn't know if Daniel had noticed I was gone, but I knew. The house wouldn't be safe much longer. After what felt like forever, I saw a faint light ahead. I pushed through the rotted wooden door. It opened with a loud crack. I was behind the garage, next to a stone wall covered in ivy. An open space, no cameras, no barriers. I didn't hesitate. I ran like mad down the narrow back path toward Susan's house. Pounded on the door, desperate. She opened it, her face pale when she saw me. Covered in dirt, face ghost white. Oh my God, what? No questions, call the police, right now. Lily ran out and hugged me tight. Mom! I held her close, trembling, and whispered into her ear, "We're never going back there, do you understand? Never." Susan called the police. I handed them everything: insurance evidence, security system prints, Daniel's files, the audio recording I captured days earlier. Meanwhile, from Susan's window, I watched my house catch fire. Flames roared from the basement, then spread across the ground floor. The smell of burning plastic reached even her living room. Lily buried her face in my shoulder, whispering, "I saw it in my dream, Mom, but this time, we got away." I couldn't look away from the blaze, consuming every memory. For the first time in months, I felt alive. But I also realized my so-called husband was willing to do whatever it took to make me disappear into the ashes. I sat on Susan's couch, wrapped in a blanket, arms still around Lily. My mind was a storm of shock, rage, and disbelief. The flames outside still reflected through the window. Fire had swallowed everything. Our home, our memories, and the lies that had lasted too long. The police arrived just minutes after Susan called. A female officer named Harper entered, professional but not cold. "Miss Amelia Jameson?" "Yes. We received calls from neighbors and the fire department. Your house is gone. But there's evidence this wasn't an accident. Can you start from the beginning?" I gave them everything I had: the fake life insurance policy, photos of the altered security system, copies of the notes I found in Daniel's office, and the recording on my phone, Daniel's voice telling someone to make sure nothing is traceable. The officer flipped through each document, her expression shifting from doubt to growing alarm. "You said you were locked inside. Who has access to the security system?" "Daniel Jameson, my husband. He said he was on a business trip to Tokyo, but I'm sure that was just a cover." Harper nodded. "We'll review all financial transactions, traffic cams, and check for any exit records, but to be thorough, I'll need to talk to Lily. Do you consent?" I looked at my daughter. Lily sat quietly beside me, not crying, not afraid. Her gaze stopped me cold. "You ready, sweetheart?" She nodded softly, then walked over to the small table to sit across from Officer Harper. "Lily," Harper asked gently, "did you hear anything strange from your father? Or notice anything unusual around the house?" "Daddy was on the phone," Lily whispered. "I was eavesdropping behind the door. He said, if Mommy disappeared, everything would be his. Then he said, just make it look like an accident." Harper stopped writing and looked up at me. "She's very clear. Was anyone else involved?" Lily nodded. "Grandma Charlotte? She called Daddy too. I saw him smiling when he talked to her." Harper let out a breath. We'll issue a summons for her investigation. That afternoon, police executed a search warrant at my mother-in-law's house, Charlotte Jameson's, located just over 15 minutes from mine. There they found a file of investment plans under my name, forged power of attorney documents, and over $80,000 in cash hidden inside a safe. At the same time, Daniel was located at a gas station near the Oregon border driving a silver SUV. Not a company vehicle, but a rental car with fake registration. In the trunk were stacks of crisp cash, a fake passport under the name Andrew Simmons, and a printed route plan to Canada. When arrested, he said only one thing: I was forced, this was all my mother's idea. Charlotte was arrested that same night. She refused to answer questions and only repeated coldly, I did everything for Daniel, he's the one who was misled. I wasn't surprised. Daniel had always done whatever his mother told him, but he wasn't innocent. Together they had built an elaborate plan to make me the next unfortunate accident, all to get their hands on my mother's inheritance and start a new life without me. What chilled me the most was how prepared they had been. House blueprints, the insurance policy, the altered security system, the destruction of evidence, every step had been calculated. If it hadn't been for Lily, I might have been nothing more than a name on the morning news. After signing off on the case files, Lily and I were taken to a safe witness hotel, a small room with a window overlooking a quiet lake. For the first time in weeks, I didn't hear metal doors locking or quiet footsteps behind me. Lily lay beside me, still clutching her stuffed bunny. Mommy, she whispered, do you think they'll come back? I kissed her forehead. No, they can't hurt us anymore. The police are here. Everything will come to light. Outside the window, the sun was setting, but inside me, another kind of sun had just risen, one of hope, of justice, and of a new beginning. I was no longer a woman who trusted blindly. I was a mother who had learned to fight, for truth and for her daughter. The trial of Daniel Jameson and Charlotte Jameson began Monday morning in the largest courtroom of King County Courthouse, Washington State. The gallery was packed with reporters, curious residents, and former colleagues of Daniel's from the real estate industry. But no one stood up to defend him. His reputation, the perfect husband, a refined businessman, crumbled during the very first hearing. I sat in the witness box gripping my mother's old bracelet, heart heavy. Lily sat beside me, her hair neatly braided, her expression as serious as an adult's. She wasn't scared, just silently waiting for the truth to be told. The prosecutor began with evidence that was clear and indisputable: the life insurance policy under my name, signed just after my mother's passing. The tampered security system that locked all exits from the outside. Photos of Daniel withdrawing cash and renting a car with fake documents under the name Andrew Simmons. Testimonies from me, Susan, the neighbor, and especially Lily. When Lily took the stand, the entire courtroom fell into a chilling silence. Do you remember what your dad said? The prosecutor asked. Yes, Lily answered firmly. I heard Daddy say, as long as it looks like an accident, no one will suspect anything. Then everything will be mine. Are you sure? Lily nodded. I was standing right behind the door. He didn't know I was there. Across the room, Daniel lowered his head, unable to look at his daughter. The defense tried to spin a different story, that Daniel was financially overwhelmed, that Charlotte coerced him into the plan, that he had suffered emotionally after his mother-in-law's death. But they had nothing to counter my mother's journal, found after the fire, hidden in an old drawer in her storage shed. In one entry she had written, Daniel keeps urging me to invest in his business, but when I ask for financial statements, he dodges. I suspect something's wrong. I'm worried about Amelia, he's too confident. That journal entry was the final blow. The prosecutor closed with a powerful statement to the jury. Daniel Jameson didn't just attempt to end his wife's life. He was prepared to turn his 6-year-old daughter into an unknowing witness. This plan was supported by his own mother, Charlotte Jameson, who was willing to sacrifice anyone to give her son a fresh start built on another family's fortune. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury delivered their verdict. Daniel Jameson, 15 years in prison for attempted arson, conspiracy to harm a family member, and use of forged documents. Charlotte Jameson, 8 years in prison for conspiracy and falsifying financial records. When the sentence was read, Daniel said nothing. He only lowered his head. But for the first time during the entire trial, Charlotte screamed. "This is all your fault. If you'd done it right, I wouldn't be sitting here." Daniel turned to her, his voice ice cold. "You didn't force me to sign the policy. You didn't lock the doors. That was my hand." The man who once held my daughter so gently now sat slumped in a gray prison jumpsuit, eyes empty. The toxic bond between mother and son, twisted by control and delusion, finally broke on the very stage they had created together. As we stepped out of the courthouse, reporters swarmed with cameras. One asked me, "Amelia, how does it feel to see justice served?" I squeezed Lily's hand and answered slowly. "Justice doesn't erase the wounds, but it stops them from spreading. I know that starting today, my daughter can finally sleep in peace." Lily looked up at me and whispered softly, "Mom, I dreamed about Grandma." She was smiling. She said, "Good job, Lily." I bent down and hugged her tightly. Even though I lost everything, my home, my trust, and the people I once called family, I held on to the one thing that mattered most: the bond between a mother and daughter, and survival not just in body, but in spirit. And that to me was the greatest victory of all. 3 months after the trial, Lily and I moved into a small house in Edgewater, a quiet lakeside town south of Seattle. No more automatic gates, no complex security systems, no towering walls, just a simple white fence, a front yard full of lavender, and a wooden balcony overlooking the clear blue water. We didn't need much, just the feeling of being safe and a place to breathe without looking over our shoulders. Lily quickly fell in love with her new school. She made friends with a small group of kids who also loved to draw and grew especially close to her art teacher, Miss Diana. Every evening, Lily brought home a new drawing, sometimes a wooden bridge over the lake, other times a portrait of me reading beneath a maple tree. "She has a truly special inner world," Miss Diana said during our first parent-teacher conference, "and a rare gift for visual expression at this age." I nodded, not surprised. Lily had seen and survived things no child ever should. Art had become her own language, the way she healed wounds too deep for words. As for me, I returned to work at Gallimore Gallery, the place where I had been a curator before stepping away to care for my mother. At first, I worried I wouldn't be able to focus. But instead, every time I stood before a piece of art, I felt calmer, more grounded in myself. Outside work hours, I began planning a long-dreamed project, a foundation to support young female artists, funded in part by the inheritance my mother left me. I called it the Revieri Foundation, based on the idea of a Revieri dream, a voice for those who had once been silent, overlooked, or broken. We would host exhibitions, workshops, and provide scholarships for female art students, especially those who had experienced trauma, loss, or abuse. I wanted to create a space where women weren't just seen, but truly heard. At our first planning meeting for the launch exhibit, I ran into Ethan Torres again, an architect I had worked with the previous year on the restoration of a historic gallery. He was quiet, had a deep sense of aesthetics, and a rare ability to truly listen. "Amelia," Ethan smiled gently when he saw me fumbling with a stack of layouts, "if you're trying to rebuild faith in the world, don't start by trying to raise every beam on your own." I laughed for the first time in days. Maybe he didn't know his words had touched something soft inside me, a place long shattered but still unwilling to give up hope. That evening, while Lily was drawing on the living room floor, I sat beside her, flipping through the Reverie Foundation materials. "What are you drawing?" I asked. "You, me, and Grandma," Lily answered, eyes still on the page. "We're standing in a museum full of paintings. I'm the one who drew them, you're the one who hung them, and Grandma, she's the one shining the light." My throat tightened. She had no idea what those words meant. Or maybe she did, more than I ever realized. A cool breeze drifted in from the open window, carrying the scent of lavender from the garden. I looked at Lily, then up at the creamy white ceiling of our new home. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the night. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I knew one thing. From now on, I would write this life myself. No more secrets, no more control, and no one else deciding my worth. I am Amelia Jameson. And I survived. Not to hide, but to rise. On Christmas afternoon, snow began to fall softly outside the window. Flakes landed gently on the wooden roof, dusting the balcony in a thin white layer. In the small kitchen of our lakeside home, the scent of cinnamon and melting butter from a freshly baked apple pie filled the air, blending with the soft jazz playing from the corner speaker. I was setting the table when Lily ran in from the living room, holding a small gift box wrapped in handmade green paper. "Mom, I made this for you." I sat down, took the box from her little hands, and gently untied the ribbon. Inside was a small wooden frame, holding a drawing Lily had made. 3 people sitting by a fireplace. Me, Lily, and a tall man with soft curly dark hair. I recognized Ethan immediately. "What were you thinking about when you drew this?" I asked, meeting her serious gaze. "I was thinking, this is family," Lily said slowly. "I know it's just us, but when Mr. Ethan's here, it doesn't feel empty. It feels warm." I stayed quiet. Outside, the wind brushed snowflakes against the glass. Lily's words echoed inside me like an answer to a question I'd never spoken aloud. "What is family, Mom?" she asked again, her voice softer. "Dad used to say it's about blood, but I don't think that's right." I lowered my eyes and placed the frame on the table. "Family," I began, "is where there's care, protection, and unconditional love. Not everyone with the same blood deserves that role. Family is the person who makes you feel safe, lets you be yourself, and never makes you afraid to ask for a hug." Lily nodded and smiled. "Then, we already have a complete family." I raised an eyebrow, teasing, "What do you mean?" "I think, if it's okay with you, Mr. Ethan could be part of our family. I'm not saying you have to marry him or anything, but if he were here every night, I'd be really happy." I laughed. "Whoa, what if I told you I've been thinking the same thing?" Her eyes widened. "Really? Really?" Just then, there was a knock at the door. Ethan stood outside holding a bouquet of white roses and a large paper bag. He wore a thick wool coat, a gray scarf wrapped around his neck, and his eyes lit up when he saw me. "You didn't forget about tonight, did you?" he asked. "I brought chocolate cake from your favorite place." I let him in. Lily ran over and hugged Ethan, like it was the most natural thing in the world. The room seemed to glow brighter, effortlessly. We had dinner by candlelight beside a small tree that Lily had decorated with paper ornaments she made herself. Afterward, Ethan told a story about being forced to sing in a reindeer costume as a kid at a Christmas pageant. Lily laughed so hard she nearly fell off her chair, and I cried from pure joy. When the clock struck 9, I tucked Lily into bed. Before falling asleep, she turned to me and asked, "Mom, will we still be here next year? We won't have to move again, right?" I stroked her hair and whispered, "No, this is our home, Lily, our real home. And no one can make us leave." I squeezed her hand. "No one can take this place away from us anymore." Lily closed her eyes, a peaceful smile spreading across her face. I turned off the light and quietly stepped out of the room. Downstairs, I found Ethan by the fireplace holding a mug of hot cocoa. He turned and looked at me, his eyes softer than any words. "I never thought I'd find a place like this," he whispered. "But maybe family isn't something you're born into. Maybe it's something you choose." I nodded, and hold on to. I walked over and leaned into him. The firelight flickered against the wall like a heartbeat. Snow continued to fall outside, but inside that little house there was warmth, peace, and a quiet promise. We had survived the darkest days to find each other right as the light returned. A new beginning, not perfect but truly ours. Amelia's story isn't just about escaping a dark plot. It's a powerful reminder that family isn't always safe unless there's love and respect. Her clarity, courage, and devotion as a mother carried her through the shadows to rebuild her life. In a world full of uncertainty, what matters isn't where you came from, but where you choose to belong. A place with real love, understanding, and unconditional grace. What do you think about Amelia's journey and the choice she made in the end? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to follow the channel for more heartfelt stories about family, truth, and the courage to begin again.